This is a special presentation of AreaCable.com and the Area Guides Network, produced by CraigShipp.com, with special guests from around the globe. I'm Peter McDermott, and now on to our feature presentation.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming on in this evening and appearing in this special broadcast. And we have a room almost full. We've got Adam, and we've got Haley, we've got Heather, we've got Peter McDermott, and we have Robert. And Monica, I think, just dropped out. Maybe she'll be back in. We don't know. But we're going to go ahead and start out right at the top here with Haley. And you were at the Baltimore Grand Prix for 4 days, and you were helping out promoting Patron, right?
That is correct.
Okay, and can you tell us real quick about Patron and what you were doing for them, and then we'll talk a little bit about Baltimore.
Sure. Well, I just started working for Patron recently. I actually work for an agency that's based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's where I live. And Patron hired me on for the Elkhart races in North America. And since then, they decided to hire me on for Baltimore. So that was the second race that I did work with Patron. It's very, classy industry as far as their liquor brand is obviously well known throughout the nation. However, unlike Bud Light and other liquor companies, they do keep things on the down low. They don't do as much promoting as a lot of other companies would do. So it is a lot more reserved in that sense, but it is a great company to work for. They do an excellent job promoting at the races. It's a lot of fun. I did have a great time in Baltimore. It was a lot of fun out there. So.
Yeah, and here's I'm going to try to drag this over the screen here. Here's an image of the setup you all had there. Some nice tables and umbrellas, and looked like a very nice setup you had there. Now, what was it like spending 4 days in Baltimore in general? Did you get a chance to get out and have some fun?
I did get to go out a little bit, but our days were so long, it was very hard to, be able to spend a late night out and then get up early in the morning. So we basically checked out the dinner locations that they had. I went to Fogo de Chao, I believe it's called. It's a chain. Went there one night, and then what else did we do? We went to Raw Sushi one night. Other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of bars even open on like that Sunday night. That was the night we were really looking to go out, but like Bourbon Street was closed down because it was a Sunday. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get to experience quite as much as I had wanted to, but it was a beautiful city. I loved it. Was that your first time in Baltimore? It was. Actually, that was one of my first times on the East Coast in general. I'm from the Midwest. Like I said, I'm from Wisconsin. So I haven't seen a whole lot of the East Coast, and I just absolutely loved it. Cool.
Now, Heather, you actually went to school in Baltimore for a time. Is that true? And so you probably spent a little bit of time at the Inner Harbor and in that area. Is there a place that's one of your favorites down there?
Well, a lot of people, when they come to Baltimore, everyone, wants to go to the Inner Harbor. That's probably the most well-known spot, and it's definitely a gorgeous spot with tons of different restaurants and different attractions that people can go and see. But my favorite spot, personally, living here, is the Mount Vernon Cultural Arts District, and that is just a place where you can find an eclectic mix of a little bit of everything, and I just love the atmosphere that's there. One of my favorite places to eat is Excess. It's like they have sushi, and they have like all different kinds of upscale food, and it's just a really good mix of things. So that's one of my favorite spots.
So now I'm going to probably embarrass you just a little bit with this photo here I'm going to show. This will probably take you down a trip down memory lane there. That was taken some years back, and you've got a heavy coat on and gloves. You were there at the Landon House helping raise money for Now you were a Maryland State title holder. Give us the title that you had at that time and what you were doing specifically there at the Landon House.
Okay, that was the National American Miss Maryland Teen title that I had, and that was from 2006 to 2007. And what I was doing with you at the Landon House, we were raising funds in order to send me to the national competition, which was in Anaheim, California. And so I was out promoting the Landon House and promoting basically trying to raise money for their Halloween. They had like a Halloween haunted house that they put up. So we raised some funds for them, and we also raised some funds for my trip to nationals to go and compete and represent the state of Maryland.
And for those of you that are not familiar with the Landon House that she's talking about, it's a historic Civil War era mansion that they have all kinds of events, and it's known to be haunted. So they have ghost tours and things like that. So it's a Civil War era mansion that was used by both sides during the war as hospitals. And there are actually some chalk drawings in there, some of which were done by Northern soldiers and some of which were done by Southern soldiers. The Northerners drew Lincoln, and the Southern ones drew a couple of the generals from the Southern armies. So that's kind of an interesting place. And real quick, Heather, from that time forward, I know you've been involved in other pageant programs and all to help pay for your schooling. What percentage of your schooling were you able to get paid for through those programs?
I've had between a mix of different organizations, not just the pageantry organizations, but another scholarship organization combined with the pageantry efforts. I've actually had 100% of my schooling paid for my undergraduate degree.
Well, that is pretty good. That is pretty good.
Yes.
Now, Peter, I'm gonna switch to you here. I don't want you to fall asleep over there, so I had to switch over to you. Do you have any questions either for Haley or for Heather?
Well, getting kind of circling back to the Grand Prix thing, it's such a great thing. It started in 1894, and it's kind of been lost in the United States as compared to NASCAR. What do you guys see moving forward with Grand Prix? How is that going to affect the nation's infatuation with NASCAR? Is it the same fan base? What type of people do you notice going to these types of events?
I can.
Haley, yeah, that's probably best for you. You interacted with a lot of fans there. So what kind of feedback did you get?
I think from the Grand Prix, there was a much bigger crowd than there were the Layman Series back at Road America. It was a fun crowd. I think it's definitely something that will continue to grow in the future, especially out in Baltimore, having that be the first race that they had on the streets out there. I think that it was a great turnout, and they're definitely going to make it even bigger next year. I think that much more of the public will be aware of it as well. I'm not sure, not being from Baltimore, I don't know how much advertisement was out there to begin with, but I think that it's definitely something that will continue to grow.
Great. Well, I think you being on this show will certainly help them. So,
I don't know about that.
Robert, did you have any questions or comments for any of our guests?
Well, for me it was a completely new experience to see all the brilliant photos and video reports. My question would be, how about the security? It looks like a real stuffed city for a Grand Prix to take place. So how was security working, that the participants are safe and things like that?
Well, that I can actually comment on a little bit because I was there photographing the event, so I was right on top of the course, and I can tell you those concrete barriers they have make those Jersey walls that you have on the highways look like nothing. They're very, very substantial concrete barriers, and then they have very substantial fencing that goes up above those that isn't your normal chain link fencing. So I think they made that course as safe as you could possibly make a course. Some of the photos that I took on Sunday, I didn't like all that metal and everything in the way, so I went to an area where I really wasn't supposed to be and took a portrait of the police officer that was guarding it, and he was real happy with that portrait, so he let me stand there and shoot. But you had to kind of get in harm's way like that to get good shots because of the the barriers and the fencing. But it looks like they really took it seriously, and there was a big police presence there. But I'll tell you what, the crowd was fantastic, and I'll switch back to Haley to get a little more feedback on that. But didn't it seem like an extraordinary crowd as far as well behaved and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I only witnessed a couple of, extremely intoxicated fans. Other than that, there wasn't a lot of, there was no violence, nothing along the lines of that. Very well-behaved crowd out there. I did enjoy the people a lot. That's one thing I can say about Baltimore. I love the people out there. Very mixed, diverse crowd, but very, well-behaved crowd, like you had said.
So will you be coming back next year?
I hope so.
All right. Maybe even before that, huh?
I sure hope so.
Yeah. Adam, did you have any questions for either Heather or Haley?
Not really.
Did you have any comments on, let's open up a new discussion here on the use of Google Plus for this type of show, and possibly using Google Plus to augment a live appearance like Haley did there at the Grand Prix. Just let's brainstorm here a little bit for maybe some ways that this could be used moving forward.
Well, I mean, one thing that I've used it for, recently I just got into music production, and a couple of people on here and I have actually we've done live jam sessions, even though we are nowhere near each other in the world. And if there was a better way to somehow incorporate audio, like an audio feed, directly into the Hangout or directly into some type of associated program with the Hangout, so that we could all mix and do all that stuff together, and you could actually, instead of having to be right there in the same room with one mixer, do tracks and stuff like that, you could do it simultaneously from different locations.
Yeah, because the problem with this is the audio is such that when one person talks, the other person, you can't really do it simultaneously. And so I guess you would have to have those audio channels coming in. You have to use something like Skype or some other method to get the audio in to the Hangout.
That's what I was saying. If there was some type of extension, that we could either write or come up with, or somehow have something work simultaneously with the Hangout itself.
Sure.
That would be pretty awesome.
Sure. And Haley, could you see some ways that something like this could possibly be used in conjunction with an appearance like you did in Baltimore?
Yeah, I definitely think just being here today, this is a good experience. Technology keeps enhancing, and I think that this is wonderful to have something like Google Plus to be able to connect with other people. I definitely think that this is something that could continue.
And Heather, what about education? Do you see any applications where this could be used in education?
Oh, definitely. I mean, as the world of education is evolving, the types of students in that world are evolving, and it's becoming more and more mobile. It's more about online classes than ever before, and really making classes to fit your schedule. So I would see this as being a perfect way for people to learn from within their own homes and be able to work towards a degree while they have a full-time job or have family commitments or things of that nature. I think it would be a perfect tool.
Yeah, I've actually checked out iTunes University and checked out a few courses there. Yale, for example, has a lot of their courses on there, all free for the taking. And I can imagine people playing a course or something like that in a Hangout, and then other people being able to interact and discuss it, and all kinds of applications there. Peter, what about, can you think of any other applications where they could use Google Plus in conjunction with some of the things that Haley's doing and in education?
Well, not so much with education, but I did have a thought linking back kind of the Grand Prix and the Formula One racing. What is your favorite diversion while you're watching any sort of racing, whether it be NASCAR, Formula One, or anything? Anybody in the room? What's your favorite diversion?
My favorite diversion is hanging out with the Patron girls.
Well, mine would be drinking Patron or beer or something like that.
simultaneously while hanging out with them, right?
Right. But what if we could take that experience? Let's say, some people enjoy going to football games at Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's say there's an area in Buffalo Wild Wings. It's almost like a photo booth where I could go sit in there absolutely free, take my beer and two of my buddies and sit in this little small room. And I would have an opportunity to talk to one of the race car drivers or one of the pit crew members or the pit crew team from whoever my favorite car, my favorite racer, or something having to do with that sport, or even with other sports. Now the catch would be, and this is where it gets funded, is this is where Haley or Heather comes in, and they say, hey, my name's Haley, I'm here pushing Patron. We want you guys to make sure you have a really good night and drive safe, but here's our new lineup of products. Well, the pit crew's getting ready to come and talk to you. I want to talk to you guys about what you like about this latest Patron thing, what you don't like. And then just put that brand into their minds, and then having that sponsor pay for that interaction, whether it be with the driver or the pit crew. I think that'd be a great example of how you could do something remotely, not even having to be at the venue.
Well, that at the venue too. That is brilliant.
Yeah.
What the Patron setup, what they could have been doing at their setup. Let's say they had a big screen TV set up there, that was a hangout. And they had camera feeds into various pits, okay, that were all in the hangout. And so since you can have up to 9, so you could have 9 different teams could have cameras and could be in that hangout with the Patron group there. And
Absolutely,
so people
yeah.
that come in and enjoy a beverage, there and sit at the nice tables and all that, they can also check out the big screen hangout. And if they're lucky, there's actually going to be people from different teams there that they can actually talk to and chat in between races or whatever.
Right, absolutely.
So it extends the reach of that display, that setup that Patron's paying a lot of money for. It extends that reach right into the pits or right into the team paddock area. Where they're working on the cars.
And also, it allows an opportunity for the product liaisons, such as Haley and Heather are, to interact with the people that they don't know they're seeking information about the product, but they want to learn a little bit more about the technology, what's going on in that booth. So you have that big screen TV, you've got the 9 different video things. They're thinking to themselves, what the heck is this all about? I wouldn't be able to figure it out. But for them to go in and talk about their product and kind of serve as a liaison to bridge them the gap to the technology, I think it'd be a great opportunity to make people feel very comfortable with them as they have a foreign technology, something they haven't seen before, and also warm them up not only to the girls but also to the products. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Well, this could also be a great way to give people a behind-the-scenes look at a pageant competition. Heather, you're going to a competition here pretty soon, right?
Yes, at the end of October. I believe it's 6 weeks out from now, and it would be a great way to show to people what the entire experience is about. The pageant competition is usually a weekend or a week-long event, and it all leads up to 1 or 2 nights on the stage. And so to have something like Google Plus where you can film the interviews, you can film the rehearsals, you can kind of have that inside access look to behind the scenes, if you call it, as to what goes into the entire production of that 1 or 2 nights on stage, because a lot of people don't realize how much work and preparation does go into being able to set foot on that stage on that one night. So
now speaking of work, Heather, I'm going to show another picture here at the risk of embarrassing you. It
my gosh.
Looks like there you had a little work there with the makeup artist. And that again was at the Landon House. I had to show that. But what I'm thinking is, let's say you had 8 cameras at the pageant at different key places, and had all of them feeding in to a hangout, and then you were streaming that hangout live. There are a number of people that stream hangouts now. We're not streaming this; we're recording it, but we could just as easily be streaming it. So that would be a quick way for you to have a 9-camera setup, if you will, broadcasting that entire event and giving people, like you say, a real behind-the-scenes look where in between events or whatever, people could be there chatting, and seems like the sky's the limit. I'm excited about this format because I like doing things quick and easy and efficient. To do a show like we're doing right now with multiple people coming in from multiple locations and recording it with me having to do almost no post-production work. When I'm done this recording, my post-production work will take me about 10 minutes, and this will be a done show in the can. Whereas with old technology just a few years ago, it would have been a major production to do something like this. And
no, absolutely, Craig. And I can tell you, as somebody that also produces videos, that the fact just earlier today I was chatting up with a news anchor out of Missouri, and we were able to have a panel discussion about a disorder that people are suffering from. And we were just able to go around the panel, ask those questions, and save the screen capture, and up it went to YouTube. And immediately they were able to plug a link to it so people could interact with that discussion. And I think what you're talking about, as far as what you're talking to Heather about, another great idea is something that news anchors are starting to do. We're starting to see this at KOMU in Missouri, and what they do is their anchors, actually while they're on air, Eric Chilton does this as well, but they'll have a laptop on a Google Hangout while they're on the air. Mm-hmm. So what people are able to see is kind of behind the scenes and what's going on. Now, at the cost of that, they're not able to interact with the audience because, they're doing their job, reading the teleprompter, covering the news, doing the weather, whatever it is. But I think the girls would have a great opportunity, as Heather suggested, to be behind the scenes, be the liaison. Walk around with that laptop and show everybody what's going on and talk to them about it and make them excited and, still promote whatever brand or whatever product they're endorsing at the time. It's a great expansion on that idea, Craig.
Yep. Well, now, Heather, before I forget, I also want you to talk about your current platform. You're a current title holder, and give us that current title, and then tell us a little bit about your current platform.
Okay. Well, just to correct you, I'm not a current title holder right now. I was a title holder last.
Have you been slacking, Heather?
Well, in preparation for the competition that I'm entering in October, which is the Miss Maryland USA pageant, you cannot enter that pageant and have an existing title. Oh, okay. So I actually gave up my title in February, and that was the Miss Maryland International 2010 to 2011, so I gave that up in February. And that was a great, great title where I was able to promote a personal platform of mine, which is advocating for families of the missing. And I work with an organization that's called Let's Bring Them Home, and you can find out more information about them at lbth.org. And I serve as their national spokesperson, and basically what that means is I am an advocate for the families of the missing, like I said. So I go around and I raise funds for them, and I try to basically spread an awareness about these families, what they're going through, ways that you can help them in the recovery, and also ways that people can stay safe and people can make sure that nothing ever happens to them, because the sad and scary reality is that.
Can you tell us why you know really what it feels like to be in that position?
Yes, definitely. The reason why this is so near and dear to my heart is because my uncle disappeared in 2005 while he was on a business trip overseas. And it was something that was so shocking and so unreal for my family that we really did not know what to do. And it was several years until we began to speak out about it and to really try to, find the source of the problem and try to deal with the loss and the uncertainty that comes with that situation. So being an advocate for Let's Bring Them Home and working with other families that have experienced a similar tragedy has been a huge mend to fixing the tragedy and the loss in my life. So it's really helped me to overcome it, and it's also helped me to empower others to be smart, travel smart, and to always stay safe.
Well, you're doing a great job, and you're a great spokesperson for them. And before we wrap up the show, Haley, did you have anything else that you wanted to say about any of the sponsors that you've worked with? Any of them that have been particularly fun to work with, that you've enjoyed? I know you mentioned Patron. Are there any others that you'd like to mention?
I did work with Bud Light last week for the opener of the Packer game. Again, that is a very strong, very competitive company as well. They're very professional in what they do. Everything was sponsored by Bud Light that game, so it was very exciting to do that. But mainly going back to Patron, like I said, I'm new to working with the company, but I do love the crew. I love the work. I love, like I said, how they're very a reserved company. They don't, put themselves out there with all the stuff that they could be doing with their money. They just kind of, sit back and, keep themselves at that classy level. So that's why I do love that company. Other than that, I do have one other sponsor that I would like to promote for this is ESM Racing. They do have a website that has a lot of the pictures from Baltimore as well and a lot of video captures. So.
Do you happen to know the URL of that website?
That one I sent earlier. I believe it's esmracing.com.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm just looking in the chat here. Good. All right. Well, is there anything else anybody wants to say before we do a little show wrap up here?
Yes, I wanted to add a short take about both what the girls are doing on the live events. I'm thinking about if the Hangouts, if you imagine if it will go to mobile devices like the pad or even the iPhone itself, then you could really go through those packed crowds and switch between the front and the back camera to have yourself and your suit with the sponsors and the VIPs, if you can really get close to them. And so this would be really a live experience. And maybe that we take the concept that KOMU is doing and turn it around, then you are the live reporter on site, and the hangouters would be television stations. Yes, and the link to your hangout would be then really expensive, I think.
Yes, and we are waiting. Yeah, we've got all our fingers and toes crossed for Google to roll this out to the iPhones and iPads, and right now you can only do what's called a huddle on those devices. But there are people that have workarounds that are using Skype and other tools to bring a mobile feed into a Hangout, but it's kind of a hokey workaround if you ask me. But it's going to happen. I mean, one way or the other, we're going to get mobile devices into these Hangouts, and that's going to cut the cord and allow us to for live events like we're talking about, to really go around and leverage that. I think what's interesting here is we still need people there. We need people like Haley there representing the product in person, but the question is, are there ways that we can use things like this to just amplify what she's able to do and to leverage it? And I think that's what's exciting.
What I was going to say is, I was in a hangout a couple weeks ago, and just out of nowhere, somebody popped in, and they had just gotten to an airport. They were literally on for 3 minutes, and I don't know exactly which program it was that they were using, but they did exactly that with Skype or whatever extension that they brought themselves into a hangout. I think one of the biggest things that the biggest problems they're having with that is bandwidth use. They have since in the past year and a half, 2 years, they have really changed how data pricing and usage and all that kind of stuff on the mobile platform has gone. Yep. I mean, back in the day, you paid $20 and it was unlimited. There was no caps. There was no nothing. Now it's everybody. AT&T has it capped at 2 gigs. Verizon has theirs capped up to a certain price. Not with
that's why we need to lobby Google to build a nationwide Wi-Fi network that we can all use and have some real competition for these providers that we have now. But that we could do a whole nother show on that.
Yep.
But yes, we'll need it, and we will get it. It will happen. Nothing's going to stop this locomotive. This locomotive has left the station, and it's nothing's going to stop it. So we're going to go do a little round robin wrap up here, and we'll start Adam back with you on the far left. And anything you'd like to say, any websites you'd like to plug or anything like that, it's your platform.
Yeah, there's like I said, earlier, I had just gotten into the music production industry, and all of my music, it's all really basic right now. I'm just trying to learn the program and whatnot, but it's all available online at SoundCloud, which is just soundcloud.com/Benner BENNER 311.
Benner 311.
Yep.
Okay. And Haley, anything you would like to say to wrap up?
Again, that website that I mentioned earlier, the esmracing.com, they do a great job, basically covering anything that occurred over the races. They do photos, videos, pretty much a big overview of all the races. So that's a cool website to check out if you're interested in the races, such as the Grand Prix. Also, my personal Facebook account would be Haley Hoya. It's HALEYHOYA.
And is that a .com address, or is that a what did you say?
It's my Facebook account.
Facebook. Okay. Okay. Cool. And Heather.
Yeah, I just wanted to invite everyone to come and attend the Miss Maryland USA and Miss Maryland Teen USA pageants. It's on October 29th and 30th, and that's Saturday and Sunday, and it's at the North Shore Bethesda in the Marriott in Bethesda. And so I would invite everyone to come out and attend. Also, please, keep in mind as you're going through your daily lives, there's so many great organizations and nonprofits that are doing good things in the world, but I would ask you to always think of Let's Bring Them Home and think of the missing and try to remember those who we've lost. And again, that website is lbth.org. And if you wanted to kind of follow me and stay in touch with the pageant world and the platform that other organizations that I support, you can follow me on Twitter, and that is at twitter.com/HeatherRaine. It's Heather, RAINE.
Okay, and Peter.
Well, I just wanted to thank Haley and Heather for taking the time to be here. Craig, for you putting this all together. It's always amazing stuff you do. I look forward to our next episode of Springfield News at 6, and look forward to learning more about what the girls are doing and following them as they move along with their philanthropy and the cool things they're doing. You can, of course, find me on Google+, Peter McDermott, or at micropatrol.com.
Okay, and Robert.
Yes, you just have to search for EasyTouch if you want to get in contact with me on the internet, so it's easytouch.com, or most important here, the Google Plus page. So I would really like to help new users to get the Hangout started, and really like to have thought-provoking conversations on Google Plus.
Cool, easytouch.com, that's a great URL. Wow. And you can check out photos and videos of the Baltimore Grand Prix. Just go to cityofbaltimore.com. That's cityofbaltimore.com, and you can see Haley doing her thing there, and photos and video clips. And I thank all of you for attending, and you can find me at CraigShipp.com. That's CraigShipp.com. And I'm going to stop the recording right now. Thanks, everybody, for coming.